The sun-drenched streets of coastal Florida hide stories beneath their pristine surfaces. In one such neighborhood, where palm trees sway against pastel homes and neighbors exchange pleasant waves, a tragedy unfolded that would forever mark this community in the annals of true crime. The morning began like any other on Seaside Avenue. Children waited for school buses, while sprinklers created rainbow prisms on manicured lawns. But by nightfall, police sirens pierced the evening calm, and yellow tape cordoned off what was once the Caldwell residence. Ethan Caldwell, a 38-year-old construction foreman, known for his steady demeanor and firm handshake, had transformed overnight into Florida's most notorious killer. The catalyst? A single piece of paper found tucked inside his wife's purse, a medical document confirming a pregnancy that couldn't possibly be his. When did the life you built become someone else's secret? Think about that question for a moment. Have you ever discovered something about a loved one that instantly changed everything you thought you knew? That shattering moment when trust collapses and reality shifts beneath your feet? For Ethan, this revelation wasn't just heartbreaking, it was world-ending. His wife Vanessa's pregnancy with her boss, Clifford Hargrove, ignited a rage that exploded beyond their home and into an office building, leaving multiple victims in its wake. As neighbors huddled behind locked doors that night, whispers spread through text messages and hurried phone calls. Patricia Whitaker, who had lived across the street for 20 years, would later tell reporters, "We thought we knew them. We never imagined what emotions churned beneath that ordinary exterior. What drives someone to cross the line from betrayed spouse to mass murderer? What warning signs were missed? And could this tragedy have been prevented?" This haunting story forces us to examine the fragile boundaries between love, betrayal, and violence. A reminder that sometimes the most dangerous threats aren't strangers, but the people sharing our homes, our beds, our lives. Before we continue this journey into the darkness of Ethan Caldwell's mind, take a moment to subscribe to our channel. Each day, we uncover true crime stories that reveal the complex, often terrifying reality of human relationships. Hit that subscribe button now, because understanding these tragedies might just help prevent the next one. Ethan Caldwell arrived in Florida 12 years ago, a transplant from Ohio with calloused hands and architectural dreams scaled down to construction management. His colleagues knew him as methodical, the man who triple-checked measurements and insisted on proper safety protocols. At community barbecues, he was the reliable grill master who nursed a single beer all evening while telling measured stories about job site mishaps. Vanessa Morales possessed the magnetic energy Ethan lacked. Cuban-American with an infectious laugh, she'd moved through 3 promotions at Hargrove Financial Services in 5 years. Her administrative efficiency became legendary. The office hummed under her organization. Photographs around their modest ranch home showed their contrasts. Ethan's reserved smile beside Vanessa's exuberant grin during vacations in the Keys, hiking trips through the Everglades, or their backyard anniversary celebrations. The Caldwells represented suburban achievement. Their renovated 3-bedroom home featured Ethan's handcrafted cabinetry and Vanessa's eye for affordable elegance. They hosted monthly dinner parties where neighbors commented on their complementary dynamics, his steadiness balancing her spontaneity. At community council meetings, they advocated for code playground improvements and traffic calming measures. Sunday mornings found them volunteering at beach cleanups or farmers markets. Local realtor Marianne Jeffries often pointed to their property when showing homes to prospective buyers. That's what makes this neighborhood special. Couples like the Caldwells who invest in community. Yet observant neighbors occasionally witness tension slipping through the polished veneer. There were the abrupt cancellations of dinner plans, the muted arguments barely audible through open windows on humid nights. Vanessa's increasing overtime hours raised eyebrows among those tracking comings and goings. Ethan's deteriorating mood didn't escape notice either. Dominic Alvarez, his closest friend, later admitted he stopped joining weekend fishing trips. When I asked why, he'd mumble about needing to fix things at home, without elaboration. Most telling were the separate errands they began running, Ethan at hardware stores while Vanessa shopped elsewhere. Their individual circles gradually separated like oil and water, reluctantly sharing the same container. Beneath this facade of normalcy lurked unaddressed wounds festering in silence. Marriage counselor Dr. Eleanor Reeves, who reviewed their case after the tragedy, identified classic disconnection patterns. They maintained appearances while emotional intimacy crumbled. They spoke around problems rather than through them. The deterioration accelerated when Vanessa received her executive assistant promotion under Clifford Hargrove. Her late meetings multiplied. Her phone became a fortress of passwords and turned away screens. Meanwhile, Ethan retreated into workshop projects, crafting furniture nobody requested. Their bedroom transformed into emotional cold storage, a space for sleep rather than connection. Financial records revealed separate accounts established 6 months before the massacre. Most revealing were Vanessa's unexplained medical appointments carefully hidden in her digital calendar under lunch meetings, and client follow-ups, digital breadcrumbs leading to the revelation that would ignite catastrophe. Clifford Hargrove commanded attention the moment he entered any room. At 45, the CEO of Hargrove Financial Services cultivated an image of polished authority, designer suits, a corner office overlooking the bay, and a reputation for demanding excellence from everyone in his orbit. His twice-divorced status and jet-setting lifestyle featured regularly in local business magazines, painting him as Florida's financial wunderkind. When Vanessa first interviewed for the executive assistant position, Hargrove recognized ambition mirroring his own. Her resume showed consistent advancement, her references glowed, and her poise during challenging questions impressed him. She understands the value of perception, he told his HR director, after offering her the position with a salary that exceeded standard compensation. The power dynamic established itself immediately. Vanessa's desk sat just outside Hargrove's office, a strategic placement ensuring she filtered all his communications and managed his schedule. Their workdays stretched routinely into evenings, with dinner ordered to the office to maximize productivity. Colleagues noticed Hargrove's hand lingering on Vanessa's shoulder during presentations. His habit of requesting her presence at client dinners where other staff weren't invited. Former coworker Melinda Carver later recounted, their interactions changed gradually. He began asking personal questions about her marriage. She started dressing differently, more expensive clothes, new hairstyle. The boundaries blurred between professional and intimate. The company's annual retreat to Key West marked a turning point. Security footage from the hotel bar showed them deep in conversation until 3 a.m., Hargrove's wedding ring conspicuously absent. Upon returning, Vanessa received a private office, unusual for an assistant, with frosted glass doors and soundproofed walls for confidential work. Text messages recovered after the tragedy revealed a calculated progression, professional compliments evolving into personal flattery, then explicit messages coordinating rendezvous at luxury hotels where Hargrove maintained long-term suites. Have you ever witnessed professional relationships cross invisible lines? Those moments when mentorship transforms into something inappropriate, when power and admiration create a dangerous cocktail of attraction and obligation? How clearly can we recognize when workplace interactions venture into forbidden territory? By month 3 of their affair, Vanessa maintained 2 separate lives, the increasingly distant wife to Ethan and the devoted assistant-turned-lover to Hargrove. Employee expense reports showed gifts disguised as client appreciation items, jewelry, designer accessories, weekend getaways labeled as professional development conferences. What neither anticipated was the biological consequence that would ultimately expose everything. The first thread unraveled during an ordinary Tuesday. Ethan noticed Vanessa's wedding ring sitting in the bathroom dish, unusual for a woman who had previously showered with it on for a decade. When questioned, she mumbled about skin irritation without meeting his eyes. Small inconsistencies multiplied weekly. Her office Christmas party lasted until 3 a.m. Weekend team-building workshops appeared on her calendar without prior mention. The scent of unfamiliar cologne clung to her blouses. Each anomaly alone seemed innocent. Together, they formed a mosaic of deceit that Ethan couldn't ignore. Her explanations never quite aligned, Ethan later told his friend Dominic. She claimed to be working late, but the office parking garage showed her car exiting at 5:30. Restaurant charges appeared from establishments near Hargrove's downtown condo. Hotel points accumulated on her loyalty account despite no planned vacations. Picture Ethan hunched over their home computer, his face illuminated by the screen's blue glow as he accesses their shared cloud storage. His eyes narrow when he discovers entire months of photos deleted from Vanessa's phone backup. We see his reflection in the monitor, jaw clenched, pupils constricted, a vein pulsing at his temple. The investigation escalated when Ethan installed tracking software on their shared tablet. Location pins revealed extended stops at an address he didn't recognize. A split-screen view shows Ethan following the digital breadcrumbs while simultaneously maintaining a facade of normalcy during dinner conversations. One evening, while Vanessa showered, Ethan discovered a hidden keycard to the Bayview Hotel in her makeup bag. The camera zooms in on his trembling fingers as he photographs it, then returns it exactly as found. His breathing becomes audible, sharp, irregular inhales as his world implodes silently. Their neighbor James Winters reported seeing Ethan sitting in his truck outside Hargrove Financial Services late one evening. He just watched the entrance for hours, James recalled. His expression reminded me of a bomb technician calculating which wire to cut, methodical concentration masking explosive potential. The manila envelope sat innocently on Vanessa's desk, unmarked except for a medical center logo in the corner. Ethan noticed it while searching for tax documents, a routine task that transformed into the pivotal moment of his life. Inside, clinical language detailed blood work results, ultrasound appointments, and estimated due dates. The pregnancy confirmation form listed Vanessa Morales as 12 weeks along. Ethan's mind performed instant calculations. 12 weeks. 3 months since their last intimate encounter. The impossibility crashed through his consciousness like a wrecking ball. The papers trembled in his hands as his breathing accelerated. Security footage from their home system captured his transformation. A man physically buckling under invisible weight, dropping to his knees on their bedroom floor. "I remember feeling like I was underwater," he later confessed during interrogation. Sounds became muffled. My vision tunneled. I kept reading the same words over and over, hoping they'd rearrange into something different. For 6 hours, Ethan remained in their bedroom, methodically examining every document, searching Vanessa's personal email, and piecing together the timeline of deception. The paternity confirmation came buried in a password-protected folder on Vanessa's laptop labeled HFS Project Files. Among budget spreadsheets and marketing presentations lay a series of text exchanges between Vanessa and Cliff. "Blood test confirmed. It's yours. Are you certain? What about timing with E? Impossible. We haven't been together in months. We'll figure this out. Don't worry." Ethan printed these exchanges, adding them to a growing file of evidence. The camera pans across his face, eyes bloodshot from crying, jaw muscles pulsing with tension, hands steady with unnatural calm. This visual contradiction reveals a mind compartmentalizing trauma, separating emotion from emerging calculation. What Ethan discovered next shattered any remaining doubt. Hidden in Vanessa's nightstand beneath old journals, a handwritten letter from Cliff discussing their future together. "Once your divorce is finalized, we'll announce the pregnancy. I've already looked into private schools near my lake house." The letter detailed plans for a life that erased Ethan entirely. Did you know that profound betrayal triggers the same neurological responses as physical pain? Brain scans show identical activation patterns between someone experiencing a broken bone and someone discovering a partner's infidelity. The body doesn't distinguish between these traumas. Both register as life-threatening emergencies. For Ethan, this biological reality manifested as physical symptoms: vomiting in their master bathroom, hyperventilation that left him lightheaded, and finally, but deadly calm, that concerned investigators more than any emotional outburst could have. If this story resonates with you or makes you reflect on betrayal's impact, please like this video and share your thoughts in the comments. How do you think betrayal changes people? What separates those who heal from those who transform pain into violence? Your experiences might help others recognize warning signs before tragedy strikes. 3 days after discovering the pregnancy documents, Ethan called Dominic Alvarez. The friends met at Shoreline Tavern, a weathered bar where fishing captains gathered after long days on the water. Security cameras captured their 4-hour conversation in a corner booth. He seemed too controlled, Dom later testified. Not crying or shouting like you'd expect. He spoke about Vanessa and Cliff as if discussing strangers who had inconvenienced him. Dom described attempting to redirect Ethan toward legal solutions, divorce attorneys, custody arrangements, financial settlements. Ethan dismissed these options with unnerving clarity. The legal system rewards liars. They've already mapped out their future using pieces of my life. Why should I follow their rules when they've broken every vow? The bar footage shows Dom's growing concern as Ethan's language shifted from pain to calculation. When Dom suggested therapy, Ethan replied with chilling detachment. Some problems can't be talked away. Sometimes the only language people understand is consequences. Over the next week, Ethan's online searches revealed a methodical transformation. His browser history showed research on Hargrove financial security protocols, building layouts, and employee schedules. He visited 3 hardware stores in neighboring counties, purchasing items with cash. Home security footage showed him in their garage, modifying tools that investigators would later classify as weapons. A psychological autopsy conducted after the massacre identified key behavioral changes. Ethan abandoned his usual routines, withdrew $24,000 from retirement accounts, and began sleeping in his truck. He created detailed floor plans of both his home and Hargrove's office building. Most concerning was his emotional flatness, what experts term the calm before violence. Dr. Raymond Mercer, forensic psychologist, explained this phenomenon. When someone transitions from contemplating violence to planning it, we often observe a paradoxical calm. The decision provides clarity that temporarily relieves emotional turmoil. This deceptive tranquility often misleads those closest to the individual. Have you ever noticed someone's personality suddenly shift? Those moments when familiar faces become unrecognizable. When emotional reactions don't match circumstances. What warning signs might indicate someone has moved beyond normal grief into dangerous territory? The line between processing trauma and planning vengeance can be frighteningly thin. The recording from Dom's final phone call to Ethan ended with words that haunt him still. "Whatever you're thinking, man, this isn't you." Ethan's response came without hesitation. "No. This is who I became when they decided I was disposable." May 17th arrived with deceptive tranquility, clear skies, and gentle breezes across the Florida coast. Vanessa's sedan pulled into the driveway at 6:42 p.m. Security footage captured her routine movements. Purse slung over shoulder, phone checking, house key retrieved from side pocket. The living room transformed into a courtroom of evidence. Medical documents, hotel receipts, text messages, the handwritten letter. All arranged with mathematical precision on their coffee table. Ethan waited in silence, seated in the shadows beyond the entryway light. "What is this?" Vanessa's voice trembled as recognition dawned across her face. 12 weeks, Ethan replied, voice unnervingly steady. "The timeline makes it impossible to be mine." A home security system captured fragments of their final conversation. Her initial denials dissolving into admission as Ethan methodically dismantled each attempted explanation. Their voices remained controlled, almost whispered, the most dangerous kind of confrontation. "We can work through this," Vanessa pleaded, reaching for him. "You've already mapped out your future," Ethan responded. "A future that eliminates me completely." The recording shows Vanessa backing toward the kitchen, recognition flooding her expression, not just of her exposed deception, but of the unfamiliar coldness emanating from the man she'd shared a decade with. At 7:03 p.m., the security feed captured the sound of shattering glass, followed by 17 minutes of unrecorded struggle. Forensic investigators later noted the methodical nature of what transpired. Not frenzied rage, but calculated execution. The medical examiner's report detailed precision that suggested rehearsal rather than impulse. At 7:38 p.m., traffic cameras tracked Ethan's truck moving toward downtown. His expression through the windshield revealed complete detachment, a machine completing programmed instructions. 3 gas station surveillance feeds captured his journey, each showing increasing resolve in his posture and movements. Hargrove Financial Services occupied floors 12 through 15 of the glass-walled Atlantic Tower. The executive meeting scheduled until 9 p.m. gathered department heads and senior management around the 14th floor conference table. Cliff Hargrove presided at the head, reviewing quarterly projections when the elevator doors opened. Security guard Miguel Sanchez would later testify about Ethan's arrival. He walked with purpose, wearing what looked like maintenance coveralls. I noticed nothing unusual except his eyes, flat, like painted glass. Using Vanessa's access card, Ethan bypassed security protocols designed to prevent exactly this scenario. Elevator cameras recorded his ascent, 14 floors of preparation, reflection staring back from polished steel doors, no hesitation in his stance. The conference room massacre unfolded with horrifying efficiency. Survivors described an almost cinematic quality to the violence, deliberate movements, selective targeting, and precision that defied the chaotic nature typically associated with such events. He entered without speaking. Executive Assistant Melinda Carver recalled from her hospital bed. His eyes found Cliff immediately, like a navigation system locking onto coordinates. 4 minutes and 27 seconds of systematic elimination followed. Office security footage showed Ethan moving through the space with tactical awareness, addressing threats, securing exits, maintaining control until his primary objective was completed. When Detective Marcus Reddick arrived first on scene, he discovered Ethan seated in Hargrove's office chair, weapon resting on the desk. "They were building a life with my pieces," Ethan stated without emotion. The body camera footage from Ethan's arrest shows a man emptied of humanity. Mechanical compliance, expression vacant, as if the violence had hollowed him completely. The flashing police lights illuminated a face transformed not by rage, but by terrible resolve. Detective Marcus Reddick arrived at Hargrove Financial Services at 8:37 p.m., 17 minutes after the first 911 call. A 20-year veteran specializing in violent crimes, Reddick had developed a reputation for de-escalating volatile situations. Officer Leila Dupree, his partner of 3 years with tactical response training, secured the perimeter as Reddick established communication. The building evacuation was still underway, Reddick noted in his official report. Witnesses described a methodical attacker rather than an active shooter. This suggested a targeted assault with specific objectives rather than indiscriminate violence. SWAT teams positioned on adjacent rooftops reported visual confirmation of a male subject seated in a corner office. Thermal imaging showed no movement for approximately 12 minutes. "We anticipated resistance," Officer Dupree later testified. The profile suggested a perpetrator who had accomplished his mission and might welcome a final confrontation with authorities. The tactical approach followed standard protocol, secured stairwells, cleared floors, and controlled advancement toward the 14th floor. Body camera footage shows Reddick and Dupree navigating the aftermath, overturned furniture, abandoned personal items, and evidence of targeted violence rather than random destruction. Upon reaching Hargrove's office, they encountered an unexpected scene. Ethan Caldwell, sitting motionless, weapon disassembled on the desk before him, hands resting palms up on his knees. "He looked up when we entered," Reddick recalled. His expression wasn't defiant or remorseful, just empty, like someone who'd completed an exhausting task. The most chilling aspect of Ethan's surrender emerged during processing. As officers cataloged his personal effects, they discovered a handwritten document folded precisely in his wallet. A step-by-step checklist with each item methodically crossed off. The final entry, "Accept consequences," remained unmarked. Crime scene technician Yasmin Ortega would later call it the most organized crime scene I've processed in 15 years. It wasn't chaos. It was execution of a carefully constructed plan. The morning after the massacre, Seaside Avenue transformed into a landscape of news vans, police tape, and shell-shocked residents. Neighbors gathered in clusters, reconstructing their memories of the Caldwells and questioning how they'd missed crucial warning signs. "We shared meals with them just last month," Patricia Whitaker told reporters, her voice quavering. "How do you reconcile that with what happened? The man who grilled burgers for our children became this." At Hargrove Financial Services, surviving employees face the impossible task of returning to a workplace forever altered. The 14th floor remained closed, its contents preserved for investigation. Temporary counseling services occupied the lobby, where coworkers embraced, wept, and attempted to process their shared trauma. Half our team vanished overnight, recalled financial analyst Terrence Wong. Empty desks became memorials. Conference rooms transformed into therapy spaces. We became a case study in workplace tragedy response. Investigative journalist Renee Calloway's 5-part series Beneath the Surface, Anatomy of a Massacre, brought national attention to the case. Her reporting expanded beyond sensationalism, examining the intersection of workplace power dynamics, domestic betrayal, and mental health failings that culminated in violence. I wanted to understand how someone transforms from betrayed spouse to mass murderer, Calloway explained. What systems failed? What interventions might have prevented this outcome? Local churches, community centers, and schools coordinated response efforts, constructing memorials, organizing vigils, and creating safe spaces for processing collective grief. School counselors reported increased anxiety among students, particularly those whose parents worked in office environments. How does your community prepare for violence? With workplace incidents increasing nationwide, what systems exist in your neighborhood for prevention and response? Consider your local resources. Are mental health services accessible? Do coworkers know how to report concerning behavior? The most effective prevention happens before warning signs escalate into tragedy. Share your thoughts about community preparedness in the comments below. The courthouse steps became a daily media spectacle during Florida versus Caldwell. Defense attorney Eleanor Martinez pursued a temporary insanity strategy, arguing that acute psychological trauma had severed Ethan's connection to rational thought. This case represents the human mind's breaking point, Martinez told jurors during opening statements. When betrayal destroys one's entire reality, judgment collapses. Prosecutors countered with evidence of premeditation, the organized crime scene, methodical planning, and Ethan's checklist documenting each step. Assistant District Attorney James Hernandez presented financial records showing Ethan liquidated retirement accounts 2 days before the murders. These are not the actions of someone experiencing temporary breaks from reality, Hernandez argued. They demonstrate calculation and intent. Dr. Raymond Mercer, forensic psychologist, provided expert testimony on Ethan's psychological assessment. Mr. Caldwell exhibited classic signs of catastrophic emotional injury, compounded by pre-existing vulnerabilities, Mercer testified. His personality structure lacked resilience against profound rejection. The trial revealed troubling patterns from Ethan's past relationships. Former girlfriends described controlling behaviors, tracking their locations, requiring constant communication and extreme reactions to perceived slights. College roommates recounted Ethan's ownership mentality regarding relationships and his inability to process romantic disappointments. Most revealing was Ethan's journal, discovered in a storage unit rented weeks before the murders. Entries documented escalating possessiveness toward Vanessa. She belongs with me. We built this life together. No one can take what's mine. These writings contrasted sharply with Ethan's public persona as a steady, reasonable partner. Dr. Catherine Livingston, trauma specialist, explained this dichotomy. Many individuals compartmentalize their insecurities, presenting a controlled exterior, while internally nursing profound fears of abandonment. When these fears materialize, the compartmentalization fails catastrophically. Want to understand the psychology behind similar cases? Subscribe to our channel for in-depth analysis of complex true crime events. We explore the warning signs, psychological triggers, and societal factors that contribute to these tragedies. Hit subscribe now to receive notifications about our upcoming series on relationship violence and prevention strategies. The Caldwell case triggered immediate reforms across multiple systems. Police departments throughout Florida implemented new training protocols focused on recognizing warning signs of relationship violence before physical assault occurs. Detective Reddick spearheaded a specialized unit dedicated to intervention in high-risk domestic situations. Previous models focused on responding to violence, explained Police Chief Gabriela Montez. Our new approach emphasizes prevention through early identification of concerning behavioral patterns. Workplace safety measures evolved as well. Companies reassessed security protocols, implemented anonymous reporting systems for concerning behaviors, and developed response plans for relationship conflicts that might affect workplace dynamics. Hargrove Financial Services established an employee assistance program offering free counseling services and relationship support. Local schools incorporated healthy relationship education into their curriculum, teaching students about boundaries, communication, and recognizing controlling behaviors. Community centers established support groups for those experiencing relationship difficulties, creating pathways to resources before crisis points. Mental health providers reported a 340% increase in relationship counseling requests following the massacre, a statistic that shocked professionals but demonstrated growing awareness. People recognize their own relationships in aspects of the Caldwell case, noted therapist Michael Chen. This tragedy motivated. The county allocated additional funding for accessible mental health services, creating sliding-scale payment options and removing barriers to treatment. Mobile crisis units expanded their capabilities, offering immediate intervention for individuals experiencing acute emotional distress. The most effective prevention happens upstream, explained Dr. Elena Vasquez, who studied the case extensively. When people have access to support during emotional crises, when communities recognize warning signs, and when systems respond to concerning behaviors rather than waiting for violence, that's when tragedies become preventable. 5 years after the Caldwell Massacre, the ripple effects continue to reshape lives, systems, and communities. The empty homes on Seaside Avenue stand as silent reminders, some renovated beyond recognition, others abandoned to decay, their histories too heavy for new beginnings. Survivors carry invisible wounds. I measure my life in before and after, explains Melinda Carver, who witnessed her colleagues' final moments. The person I was disappeared that night alongside them. Support groups formed among those connected to the tragedy, creating healing spaces where shared trauma becomes bearable through collective understanding. This case illuminates the delicate architecture of human relationships, how structures built over decades can collapse when foundation truths shift. The external appearance of connection often masks internal disconnection. Couples therapist Dr. Eliza Washington notes, the most dangerous relationships aren't those with visible conflict, but those where communication has been replaced by assumption and unspoken resentment. The massacre highlights how isolation compounds emotional crisis. Ethan's solitary processing of betrayal, without professional guidance or genuine friendship intervention, created an echo chamber where destructive thoughts amplified without challenge. Healthy support systems don't just provide comfort, explains trauma specialist Dr. Marcus Reed. They offer alternative perspectives when our thinking becomes dangerously narrow. Perhaps the most valuable lesson emerges from examining prevention opportunities. What conversations might have altered this trajectory? What interventions could have redirected grief toward healing rather than violence? At which points could different choices have created different outcomes? If you recognized similar warning signs in someone you know, isolation, personality changes, fixation on perceived betrayal, what steps would you take? How would you approach someone exhibiting concerning behavior? What resources would you connect them with? This tragedy reminds us that true crime isn't just about understanding what happened, but learning how to prevent similar stories from unfolding in our own communities. If this exploration of human psychology and relationship breakdown has provided insight, please support our continued work by subscribing to our channel. Like this video if it prompted reflection, share it with someone who might benefit from these lessons, and comment below with your thoughts on relationship warning signs that should never be ignored.